We are live to preview the French Open 2019 quarterfinals. Tournament is flying by. Probably helps that there hasn't been any rain yet to hold up play, but that's supposed to change over the next couple of days. Supposed to be thunderstorms tomorrow and rain all day on Wednesday. So good luck to the French in getting all the quarterfinals done, but they will do what they can. And sorry, I'm just straightening this up. If they don't push play forward a bit, I'm not really sure what they're playing at. But hey guys, welcome back to the tennis vlog. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Only way you will know when I'm uploading, unless you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, that kind of thing. So follow me there. Yeah, so today's a bit different. The past 3 videos have been live Q&As where you send me your French Open questions and I answer them. But today, I thought, based on the fact that this camera's really bugging me, based on the fact that it is quarterfinals time and most of your questions, I'm guessing, are going to be based around who will win what match or who's playing well or how is player A or player B playing, I thought I might as well just preview the quarterfinals, give a little rundown. I'll have more to say about some matches than others because, as always, it's going to depend on who I've been watching more of. And yeah, I'll preview, I will predict, probably. I don't really feel like predicting. I don't feel confident enough to do so in some of the matches, but it's what you tune in for. So I have to go ahead and do it. And I'm going to say that some of my predictions aren't going to be the most helpful, I guess. So I'll stress beforehand who I've been watching. Not the best things to happen. Is it still live? I think it is. Yeah. This camera stand today, guys, is not working as well as usually. So bear with me while I sort it out. But yeah, where have I put the mic drops out. The joy. Yeah, so we'll carry on. Oh, there it is. Give me 1 sec. There we go. I'm far too tired to be doing this, but we crack on. Apologies if I've made you dizzy. I've done it worse to myself. Oh, I see. This isn't on. I will make it do for this time, and then I'm going to have to sort this out for the next stream. Can't remember where I was at in terms of what I was saying. Preview time, let's get on with it before this camera does a runner and falls off again. Let's start with tomorrow's... Oh, joy. We're going to have to start with Wawrinka versus Federer. Biggest one. This is... I'm sorry. We're just going to have to get by today with a wonky camera and then sort it out for next time. So... cracking on, Roger Federer, number 3 seed, versus Stan Wawrinka, number 24 seed. Not usually that big of a gap when these two face off, but there is this time around. Wawrinka's not had fantastic form coming into this event, but he's been turning it around. In fact, he was on a 3-match losing streak coming into the tournament. I'm going to put this in front so I don't have to turn to the side as much. Federer, as we know, playing on clay for the first time since 2016, playing at the French Open for the first time since 2015, 2016. I should know these stats, they're everywhere. But playing without pressure, swinging freely, looking good. Hasn't dropped a set at the French Open so far. To be fair, Wawrinka's going to be a step up in quality compared to the other players that he's faced, but wins over Lorenzo Sonego. I thought Sonego was a hard opener. He's Italian. He's been stepping it up this season. Him and Juan Londero, both of those two have been stepping up in a similar kind of way and upping their performances. And that was a tough opener for Federer, given that he was obviously coming into the event for the first time in a while. He handled that one well, 6-2, 6-4, 6-4, and then didn't struggle against Oscar Ott that much. Casper Ruud was giving him a bit of trouble in that 3rd set. I think he led by a break at one point, and he was striking very cleanly and not looking too intimidated by the occasion, but Federer still edging out that tiebreak 10-8 to come through in straight sets, and then comprehensive again against Leonardo Mayer, 6-2, 6-3, 6-3. Over with Wawrinka, he's had a bit more of a fight, drops a set against Kovalik in the first round, which was on a tiebreak, but still came through in 4 sets. Christian Garin, he played in the second round. Garin's really been stepping up. He's made moves at Masters 1000s. He's been doing well on clay this season. He's won his maiden ATP title this year, I believe. I think he's from Chile. May or may not have that right. I should never say this until I've checked, but I'm pretty sure he is. I remember the first ATP match he played, actually, and he'd been practicing with Nadal prior. I think that was in 2013 when he was 16. So he's in his early 20s now, but has been coming through strong. He's given a lot of the top players trouble, and Wawrinka beat him for the loss of 5 games, 6-1, 6-4, 6-love. Then was the big match against Grigor Dimitrov, which got played over 2 days. I think I spoke a bit about this one in my last video. Wawrinka winning in 3 tiebreaks, 7-6, 7-6, 7-6. The closest tiebreak was the final one, which he won 10-8, and he trailed 6-2 in the tiebreak. And that, again, the difference between Wawrinka and Dimitrov. Dimitrov can play spellbinding tennis, but rarely brings it in the big moments. Wawrinka just ups his level when it really matters in matches like these. So that was a great win for Wawrinka. And then everyone's been raving about the Wawrinka-Tsitsipas clash, which I wish that I'd watched live, but I generally don't watch tennis on Sundays, so I'm generally in church. So I missed that match and I need to catch up on it. But I'd seen most of Tsitsipas matches going into that. It was fairly 50-50 for me, I thought, going into it. You've got Wawrinka coming off a really confidence-boosting win over Dimitrov. You've got Tsitsipas, who had been handling the big occasions really maturely. I think it probably took it out of him a bit energy-wise, but still, these two had some tough battles and were able to force each other down the wire. Tsitsipas, that win is a great one for Wawrinka, I feel, because Tsitsipas has very much modelled his game on Federer, and Wawrinka has Federer up next. So, having played Baby Fed, Grigor Dimitrov, I hate using that because silly little nickname that he clearly doesn't like himself, but that's what Dimitrov was dubbed for a number of years because he plays so similar to Federer. He's played Dimitrov in the 3rd round, Tsitsipas in the 4th round, so you've got the guy that plays almost exactly like Federer, and then the guy that's clearly models his game around Federer, who's beaten Federer at the Australian Open, and Wawrinka couldn't really be hoping for better prep coming into this match. So obviously these two know each other really well, and they've faced off a number of times before. I'm just getting up the head-to-head to get the exact number. They've played 25 times. Federer has a pretty dominant 22 wins over Wawrinka. Wawrinka has the 3 wins, but I believe that Wawrinka has a pretty comprehensive win on clay. He won their last match at Roland Garros in 2015 in straight sets. Federer was also beaten, I think it would then have been the year after that, by Jo-Wilfried Tsonga at the French Open in straight sets. So this is why I've been wary about Federer. He's looked brilliant, he's looked very comfortable, but he hasn't really been tested. And I'm just thinking, it's almost too good to be true the way the seeds have held their own in the men's draw. You look across to the women's, seeds are falling left, right, and centre. There are so many almost random players with chances to win this title. On the men's side, the top seeds have been really strong. Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, all asserting themselves. It's Nadal who's the most successful at this event that's actually dropped a set. So my thinking is, would they really all make the semis? Would we really have a Federer versus Nadal and a Djokovic versus Thiem set of semi-finals? Because usually there's been an upset or two before now. And I just think with Federer, sometimes you can't tell when the upsets are coming. They kind of take him by surprise. And I believe before that straight sets lost to Wawrinka, before the straight sets lost to Tsonga, he was playing pretty well. So we've got Wawrinka obviously has that straight sets 2015 French Open win over him. Monte Carlo is the match I was probably thinking of in 2014. Wawrinka won that final 4-6, 7-6, 6-2. So even in the pressure moments, they're able to rise. And then Monte Carlo again, 2009, Wawrinka winning 6-4, 7-5. So all three of Wawrinka's wins over Federer have come on dirt. So Federer will know to be wary. I'm just looking down. Federer has beaten him on clay. He beat him in straights at Roland Garros in 2010, so nearly a whole decade ago now. Madrid, Federer won 6-3, 6-1, but also back in 2010. Federer's most recent win on clay over Wawrinka was it was before their last meeting at Roland Garros. It was at Rome in 2015. Federer winning 6-4, 6-2. Federer does have a win over him at Roland Garros in 2011, straight sets, 6-3, 6-2, 7-5. So we could delve into that head-to-head all day. There's so much to it. But I think the big thing to take away from that is Wawrinka has got all the wins over Federer on clay. He's very primed for this match coming into it with defeats of Dimitrov and Tsitsipas, who play similarly to Federer. Federer's looking great, but he hasn't really been pushed. I've been extremely convinced by Federer on clay this season. He's really stepped up, used the first serve, and just played his own game and looked very comfortable on the surface. He's not been thrashed in a clay court match. I think he's lost one match on clay against Dominic Thiem, and he had match points. He saved match points against Borna Coric and Gael Monfils. And Federer has been quite nervy in big moments over recent years. So just to be able to come through those clashes against quality players on this surface, I think shows the freedom that he's feeling. Now, I think a big factor in this clash might be tiredness. Wawrinka's had some tough matches, and I don't think Federer's going to go down really easily. So exhaustion, fatigue might come into play. I don't want to make a prediction for this one because I've been thinking the Federer-Nadal semi looks on course to happen. I've been predicting Federer and Nadal to make it all the way. However, honestly, there's a lot of stats that point in favour of Wawrinka winning this, and he's been playing some impressive tennis. Oh, I wish I hadn't said I'd make predictions. I wouldn't be surprised whatever happens in this match, whether one of them gets thrashed in straights or one of them wins in 5. Honestly, it's a 50-50 thing. Anything could happen. It's almost annoying because Federer hasn't been tested enough to see how he would respond in that situation. But what's also interesting is that both of them, when they've played at the French Open against each other, they've each won in straights. So I think probably whoever wins will probably... I mean, I don't see it being a really tough 5-set battle. I can't say that because it could literally be anything. But there is the possibility, yeah, it's 50-50. Either one of them could win, and whoever wins, they'll probably do it in straight sets, 4 sets. I can't give you a good prediction here, I really can't. So I think more of me thinks Wawrinka will win, but at the same time, I haven't watched as much of Wawrinka as... I've probably watched the same amount of both of them, to be fair. I've been really bad this year in terms of I've had like 3 matches on the go at once, and I've been trying to keep across all of them. I think I would have done better to pick like 1 or 2 matches and actually watch them thoroughly, as opposed to just trying to keep across the surface of all of them, because I understand a match better when I'm taking like detailed notes on what's going on, and it helps me better rate where a player is at. Just for the sake of putting a prediction out there, I'm just going to say... I really think a Federer and Nadal semi might actually happen, but yeah, I'll say Federer. I'll say Federer in 4 sets. But I think more of me thinks Wawrinka will win, to be honest. I'm just playing it safe based on potential Wawrinka exhaustion there, and the fact that both matches have been quite one-sided, so if Federer gets the first set, he might be away. But thankfully we can move on from that one. Rafael Nadal versus Kei Nishikori. We're really getting started with the big ones here. No, let's not go to that one yet. Let's mix it up. Go to a women's one next. These are just the order I open the tabs on my laptop. So there you go. Right. Sloane Stephens versus Johanna Konta. Really interesting match, this one coming up. Sloane Stephens, finalist last year, had her chances, didn't take them. And Konta, a surprise package on clay this season. She's really been upping her level. She has a game that's a natural fit for the surface, and she's unlocking that this year. Stephens, have had half an eye on her progression. She's actually come through some potentially tricky matches. So she took down Misaki Doi in straight sets in the opening round, 6-3, 7-6. In the second round, Sara Sorribes Tormo, who's just kind of a random name on the surface, but she has the potential to frustrate. She top spins that forehand and slices the backhand relentlessly and just keeps pushing and pushing and going in the rallies. She does come up to the net a bit as well, which means she can finish off. And she's one of those players that for a player like Stephens, who's the number 7 seed, by the way, Konta's the number 26 seed. For a player like Stephens, it's very easy for her to get frustrated by that. Stephens is very athletic and hits nice and powerfully, but she'd like to end those points a bit quicker. And she did well, I think, to negotiate that one in straight sets, 6-1, 7-6. Polona Herczog has been having a bit of a resurrection, I guess, this year. She's been a long time presence on the tour, but dropped off a bit in the last couple of years, and now she's kind of back on form. Has a good versatility about her game. Lots going on. She took the middle set against Stephens, which is the only set that Stephens has dropped all tournament, and Stephens righted the ship to come through 6-3, 5-7, 6-4. Didn't see that match, and I didn't see her next match against Gabini Muguruza, the number 19 seed, either. If you've been watching my streams, you'll know that I committed to picking 3 potential winners of many potential winners on the women's side. Naomi Osaka, Serena Williams, Gabini Muguruza. They're all out. They're all gone. I did have a good feeling about Muguruza when she beat Svitolina, and a lot of people were choosing Svitolina. I thought Muguruza would win that. She won in straights, but 2 top players back to back, too much for her. And Stephens with the 6-4, 6-3 win there. So Stephens looking all right coming into these quarterfinals. I'd go into stats and stuff, guys. I'm sorry for not doing this in more detail, but we've got 8 matches to get through here. So if I were to really delve into each one, we'd be here forever. So, and I'm not wide awake enough for that. So just giving brief overviews here, really. I know I spent ages on Federer Wawrinka, but hopefully not so long on the others. Konta yet to, she dropped 1 set, against Lauren Davis. After she looked pretty much in control. But first round beat Antonia Lottner 6-4, 6-4. I'd commentated on every single one of Lottner's main draw matches prior to the French Open at WTA level this year. Wasn't planned. That's just how it happened. 4 of them. I've been quite impressed with her. I think when she's playing the attacking, aggressive game she wants to, when she's on the front foot, she's definitely top 50 standard, no less. And Konta able to be present in the big moments to come through that. There were some troubles on serve in the first set, but 6-4, 6-4 for Konta. Second round, 6-3, 1-6, 6-3 over Lauren Davis. Davis is quite a scrappy player. She keeps going in those rallies. She moves her legs so fast because she's so small to stay in the points. And Konta crucially won that first set because that gave her a bit of time to go on a wander and then regroup at the end of the match. So came through there. Victoria Kuzmova was in the 3rd round, and Kuzmova, a 21-year-old player, I think, has been incredibly hyped this year, but has also been thrashed a couple of times by top players, Konta now being one of them, 6-2, 6-1. And then the 4th round, a lot of people bigged up her match with Vekic, and I thought it had the potential to be decent, but these two have had their massive duels when they've been competing on a faster surface. And Vekic, however well she's played at times on clay this year, I thought that Konta would come through that one, and she did 6-2, 6-4. Vekic was seeded higher. She was seeded at 23, so an upset. Not really, but by seeding it is. And Konta comes through to face Stephens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cross some of these tabs so that my computer doesn't actually crash. Just check on the live stream to make sure it's still going. It is. yeah, thank you for leaving your comments. If you do have questions, feel free to leave them, and I might make time to answer a few if you have any additionally at the end. But it is easier for me just to preview and predict the quarters because that probably covers most of the questions. So, Konta versus Stevens, I believe that they have faced off because I seem to remember watching. Yeah. Oh, interesting. 2 wins to Konta, including a win at Rome just a few weeks ago. Konta won that one 6-7, 6-4, 6-1. That was on Konta to the final in Rome. She also beat Kiki Bertens, who was right up there. Been also earlier this year, Konta won 6-4, 6-3. So it's quite important for Stevens, I think, to get this win, because once you let a player get once they get 4 or so match wins on the trot, it's quite difficult then to dig your heels into the rivalry. The player that's leading the head-to-head has quite a good feel for the matchup. And so Stevens probably has that extra drive to come through here. But add the fact that she was finalist here last year, that she probably fancies her chances in quite an open draw. She's a slam winner before, so she has that going for her. I think she'll be quite focused and determined to come through this, especially given that she's been able to sustain form pretty impressively, which she wasn't doing at the beginning of the year. Konta, meanwhile, I think she's still playing with quite a lot of pressure off her shoulders. That's going to be piled on when she goes to the UK and is playing on grass. But for now, I think she's just enjoying surprising herself a little bit, and not necessarily surprising, because I think she's always known her capabilities across all surfaces, and she knows that she's quite a bit of a late bloomer. It's just a matter of time for Konta most of the time. But I think that she's just taking things as a bonus, and it's hard to say really whether she will be feeling nerves and whether that will come into play. So these two, probably there'll be a lot of play from the baseline, either trying to finish with 1-2 punches or engaging in quite long rallies. It's hard to say who'll come through. I've probably watched more of Konta than of Stevens, because when you're in the UK, you're expected to comment on the Brits a bit more. But I haven't seen a ton of either of them, just because I've been doing this thing of popping around matches and getting an overview of them. So I don't even know what my instinct is here. I can see points for both of them. Would Stevens get frustrated? I mean, I think I'd be going for Konta here. It's just the question of, would Stevens would this driving force of having lost their last 2 meetings, their only 2 meetings, be enough to put the fire under her feet, as it were? So I'll probably go for Konta, just because it's strange, to see the 2 finalists from last year still in the tournament. This generally doesn't happen at women's slams, so credit to them. But I see Halep staying in, so I'm going to predict Stevens out, and I'm going to predict Konta to win in, I should say 3 sets, because it's going to be close, but their last match was 3 sets. And interesting there, the only set that Konta lost was on a tiebreak, so it really was close. Let's say Konta in 3 sets. Let's give her some breathing room in that match, and we can get rid of 2 more tabs, and my laptop can have a bit more life, because it dies quite quickly. Right. Rafael Nadal versus Kei Nishikori, the number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed. Again, we're seeing a clash of high seeds here. We've already had in the 4th round number 5 seed Alexander Zverev playing number 9 seed Fabio Fognini. Just a couple of hours ago, Karen Khachanov, the number 10 seed, took out the number 8 seed Juan Martín del Potro. They're doing well for themselves, these guys, in terms of handling the pressure and expectation and living up to their seeding. But one of Nishikori and Nadal has to go, and I have to say that Nishikori has been surviving by the skin of his teeth at times in this tournament, not least his last 2 matches, but we'll come to them shortly. Comprehensive defeat of French, I think he was a wildcard, Quentin Elise, 6-2, 6-3, 6-4, which is decent. I've had my eye on Elise for a few years, and he's never really broken through in the way I expected him to. but he's got potential and he's a home player. Obviously, the Frenchmen were doing incredibly well in the opening rounds, and that's one of 3 wins over French players that Nishikori's picked up. So matches in which he's effectively playing 2 opponents, the guy across the net and the crowd as well. So credit to him. Wilfried Tsonga took the first set of their match, but never really looked comfortable. He seemed agitated from the offset, and Nishikori was just able to dig in, come forward, and do enough to seal the win. 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. Tsonga had beaten him in 5 sets, I think, in the most recent meeting at the French Open, so he got some revenge. Neither of those two had been in fantastic form this clay court season, so that was a good back-to-back wins for Nishikori. Didn't do much for him though as far as the third round went. He was playing Laszlo Dare, who's been having a great season, won his maiden ATP title, is really making a name for himself because he's a talented guy who can work the court. But Nishikori won the first set, the third set, and the 5th set to come through. 8-6 in the deciding set. Lost the only tiebreak that was played. Interesting stat for Nishikori, he's played 3 tiebreaks and lost them all at the French Open. So say something about him in pressure moments, but then again, he's won both 5-setters he's played. He's won that one against Dare, and then earlier today, his delayed match with Benoit Paire was finished. He was on the brink of the exit, Nishikori. Paire actually served for the match, but I didn't think Paire was getting that win. I mean, he's done so well for himself, Paire. I mean, it's difficult for the Frenchman, I feel, to get past the quarters here, or to even get to the quarters at the moment. They do well early on, and then they tend to drop off. And he's so hot and cold that even as he was serving for it, I just didn't see him edging it out. You know, Nishikori's an all-court talent. He just never says die. And came through from being, I think, 5-3 down in the deciding set, came through 7-5. So the overall scoreline, 6-2, 6-7, 6-2, 6-7, both tiebreaks 10-8. So he did have chances to finish it earlier, and 7-5 in that 5th set. And then hopping over to Nadal, it's been pretty comprehensive apart from that third round. So wins over 2 Yannicks in the first 2 rounds, Yannick Hanfmann and Yannick Maiden. 6-2, 6-1, 6-3, and 6-1, 6-2, 6-4. So all looks like smooth sailing, and honestly wasn't expecting Nadal to have much trouble with David Goffin in the third round, because even though Goffin's a quality player, he's had some unfortunate injuries and they've kind of set him back, and that was probably his most encouraging showing in a while against Nadal in the third round. He was the number 27 seed, so shouldn't have been written off. Nadal won the first 2 sets, 6-1, 6-3. Goffin just started swinging at the end of the third set. I don't think he'd got to deuce on Nadal's serve until the back end of that set, so it had been pretty comprehensive for Nadal. But just probably throwing caution a bit to Nadal, that result, because Nadal has this thing, and I've noticed it a bit even this clay court season, where he could win a match more easily, but for example, he might be serving for the match and he doesn't serve it out, he breaks through it instead. And just a little wobbles at the back end, which make him a tiny bit vulnerable. I think if he was up against a big player, he would know to tighten those screws. But yeah, I think that was probably a bit of a wake-up call for Nadal losing that third set, but he never really looks in danger. The way Goffin was swinging and nailing his marks off forehand and backhand was reminiscent of when he beat Roger Federer at the ATP finals in 2017, but couldn't sustain that form. Nadal got the break early in the 4th set, and that was enough for him to come through in 4 sets. And then Juan Londero, who I mentioned briefly earlier in this video, has been giving a good representation of himself throughout this clay court season, has been sustaining form from earlier in the year, but Nadal coming through 6-2, 6-3, 6-3. So if you've watched my previous videos, you're going to know how I'm predicting in this clash, and if you've watched the French Open in previous years, you probably could guess how I'm going to predict anyway, because one of these guys has won 11 titles and one hasn't. I'm not writing off Nishikori. I never do. I never have. He's one of those guys that is just so vastly talented that if he was having his day, he could get up and produce a shock. But again, this match is going to be on Chartier, and those conditions are tremendously suited to Nadal. I'm just going to have a look at the head-to-heads between these two. Faced off 12 times, Nadal's won 10, Nishikori has won 2, so fair play. Some players have worse head-to-head against Nadal. And, you know, Nishikori is one of the really good clay court players, I think. He steps up, he gets some good results. He's played Nadal in clay court finals before. I've been a little surprised that his level didn't rise to the occasion so far this year. But, he's made the quarters at the event that really matters, similar to Alexander Zverev, so good for them. So the big one that Nishikori won was the bronze medal match in Rio, I think, after Nadal narrowly missed out against Juan Martín del Potro. I think many people expected him to walk the bronze medal match, but Nishikori came out on top in 3 sets. Nadal won the most recent meeting in the final of Monte Carlo on clay last year, 6-3, 6-2, pretty comprehensive. They faced off 1, 2, 3, 4 times on clay. Each time Nadal has been the champion. Now, what I remember about that Madrid final in 2014 is that Nadal was actually in a bit of trouble, and Nishikori had to retire down 3-love in the deciding set. If that hadn't been the case, I think that there could have been more of a story to that clash. Nishikori actually won the first set 6-2. So he does know how to play Nadal on clay, and I think his speed around the court will help him. The topspin on Nadal's forehand, you need to move quickly to take it in the right place. And that's something that Nishikori can do. But from what I've seen of him, I'm not entirely convinced of his form, Nishikori. And I do just see Nadal coming through, really. I'm not sure how many sets, but I think given that he's dropped a set already, and given that Nadal's dropped a set already, even though Nishikori has the weapons really to do damage, let's just call it Nadal in straight sets for this one. I think Nadal in straights. And I predicted him to win the title, so got to stand by my pick because one of them's still in. Thankfully, it wasn't just left to the women's draw. Right. Oh, interesting one. I don't know how I'm going to predict this one. Really don't. Petra Martic versus Marketa Vondrousova. Congrats if you picked this as a quarter at the beginning of the tournament. Martic got a brilliant upset over Karolina Pliskova, and now she gets to take on a player who reminds me a bit of Pliskova. Czech lefty, big serve when she wants to, comes to the net, mixes it up. And this one, honestly, even though it's 2 of the lesser names still in the draw, it should be a highly watchable clash, I think. So try not to miss it. What have we got? Petra Martic has dropped 1 set, but that's forgivable. It was against Kaia Kanepi, who really brings it at the majors at the moment and has a tough game. She took Simona Halep out of, I think, the US Open last year, first round. But starting from the beginning, 6-1, 6-2 over Ange Jabeur in the first round. I've butchered that pronunciation, excuse me. 6-2, 6-1 thrashing of Kristina Mladenovic, home player, great talent. I ranked her top 5 on clay a couple of years ago. 6-2, 6-1, no problemo. And then the upset over number 2 seed Karolina Pliskova, 6-3, 6-3. Pliskova had been impressing, stepping into the baseline, delivering the 1-2 punches, just looking really slick. And Martic with her high looping ground strokes and her tremendous touch as well, just able to run Pliskova around, make her uncomfortable, and open up the spaces, and a pretty straightforward win for her, really. And then Kanepi was more of a problem. She was down Martic even, who was the seeded player in that clash, but I think it was probably fairly even. Was down a set and came back to win 5-7, 6-2, 6-4. And then Vondrousova, who, credit to many people, because I think there were a lot of people picking her as a dark horse ahead of the event. She'd looked promising on clay. She'd beaten Simona Halep. Great win for the confidence and for everything, really, coming into the tournament. Yafan Wang, she beat in the first round 6-4, 6-3, and she's actually yet to drop a set. She bageled Anastasia Potapova, rising young Russians, and delivered a 6-4, 6-love overall score there. Beat the number 28 seed Carla Suarez Navarro. Not so much of a force now, Suarez Navarro. She really upped her game a couple of years ago and made her way into the top 10, which I never saw happening, so credit to her. But Spaniard, yes. Good on clay, yes. Great form at the moment, probably not. And Vondrousova, 6-4, 6-4 in that match. Most impressive, recent win over Anastasia Sevastova, who played some killer tennis to take out Elise Mertens in one of the matches of the tournament. it was ridiculous, some of the rallies that they were producing, the variation, the movement, the precision, particularly from Sevastova. She was hitting a lot of winners, slapping them on the lines, and she saved match points. And when she saved those match points, she wasn't just waiting for Mertens to tighten up. She was stepping up and delivering the tennis that she wanted to produce. Did incredibly well. But Sevastova, the number 12 seed, couldn't hold a candle to Marketa Vondrousova. 6-2, 6-love was the scoreline. So this one should be a really interesting matchup of styles. Two players that aren't necessarily going to go to the aggressive power game as their first option. And I'm just going to check to see, some of you will know this already, whether they've faced stuff before, head-to-heads. Loading. So, yeah, both of them can produce. Stream froze. Are we still there? Still going? I'm surprised it didn't stop, to be honest, when the phone drops off the sound beforehand. But there you go. Head-to-heads. Sevastova versus Martic. Drumroll. 1-1. Well, that really helps us out, doesn't it? Two match. Oh, hello. Did not expect that. So one of their meetings, the first meeting, got a cough coming on, sorry, came at the French Open. That's quite helpful. 2017, Petra Martic. Have I got this right? No, I've put in the wrong players here. Oh, that's well annoying. I thought I was getting a lot of help there, but I put in the wrong two players. All over the place tonight, guys. Sorry. Martic, Vondrousova. I had a real high for a moment then when I thought they played at the French. I thought, great, this is making the prediction that much easier. Apparently not. They still played, which is helpful. Even more helpful for love in the head-to-head to Martic. But Vondrousova is a young player. Martic has been around a lot longer. She's been top 20. All four of her wins have come in the last 4 years. The most recent of them was on clay, final in Istanbul. How did I not remember that? Earlier this year, Martic coming from a set down to win 1-6, 6-4, 6-1. So that's not helpful because it shows that Vondrousova was pretty much level pegging with her there, her chances to win. Previous wins for Martic all came in straight sets. 2018 in Auckland and Indian Wells. 2019 at the Australian Open, excuse me. So, prediction. It's going to be a crafty match. It's going to be a strategic match. I've watched, probably for these two, I've not watched as much of Vondrousova, but I saw more of her prior to the tournament. Martic, I watched a lot of the Pliskova match. Not sure if I saw her against Mladenovic. But yeah, the variation from both players, they're going to be looking to surprise each other, but at the same time, I think that they'll try to avoid giving each other the chances to, for example, strike that drop shot. So probably looking to keep points short as well. I'm not sure really. If Vondrousova is going to get a win in this rivalry, it's going to be now, because like I said before, when a player is that dominant in the head-to-head, it's really hard to get your way in. So this is a very important match for Vondrousova. Martic, I can draw similarities between her and Andrea Petkovic, who made her way to the semi-finals here a few years ago. Petkovic had been top 20, dropped down and was coming back. So for that reason, you do see patterns reoccurring at the women's Grand Slams. And for that reason, I can see Martic coming through. I also think that a lot of people will be backing Vondrousova to come through. 19-year-old, young, up-and-comer, very impressive. And I almost think there'll be more pressure on Vondrousova in that match. I'm sort of in between the two of them. Yeah, I can definitely see Martic coming through, but just because she pushed her to 3 in their last meeting, and if she's going to get a win in this rivalry, it has to be now. I'm going to say I'll give Vondrousova the benefit of the doubt, but my gut says Martic. Let's go with Martic. Let's give it to her. Petra Martic. See, do not do anything stupid off of these predictions, because clearly I'm just grabbing out of thin air. All I can give you is the analysis, right? So let's give Martic a shot, and let's say straight sets. She's going to come through. I can say anything. Once I've given myself the safety net of I don't have a clue, I can just do whatever I want and hope that it's all right. So let's move on. So there are all the quarterfinals that will be played tomorrow, weather permitting. They are going to have a real hard time on their hands if play tomorrow doesn't get completed or even begun. Last I checked the weather, it's supposed to start raining and thunderstorming at the time play is supposed to start, 2 p.m. local time. If people are smart, and I'm not sure if anything's been done, but they would bump play earlier. They'd start at 11 a.m. or something, just to get some play in, because otherwise they could have a real hard time on their hands. But tennis tournaments tend to wait until it's too late, so don't see that happening. But these are the matches that would be played on Wednesday, which is also supposed to be sodden, and might as well start with the big one, because we've just done a women's match. Novak Djokovic, top seed, versus Alexander Zverev, seeded number 5. A lot of people I don't think would have seen this coming at the outset of the tournament. I didn't really have predictions on Zverev. He had a very, very poor clay court season until taking a wild card into the Geneva Open the week before the French. He won that tournament, and it just gave him, I think, the confidence and the match wins and the match practice that he needed to make an impact at this event. Has he looked entirely convincing? A lot of people would say probably no, but there's this thing with Alexander Zverev in 5 sets, and if he goes to 5 sets, people are suddenly like, oh no, he's not playing well. But I don't see that. I see him coming through and handling the occasion pretty well. Not necessarily adding that up to an upset of Djokovic, but let's have a look at what he's come through. I spoke about his match against John Millman in the first round, a difficult one. And he did well, I think, to take the first 2 sets, 7-6-6-3. It was pretty close the whole way. Millman likes to rally, likes to engage in these tough battles, and so I wasn't surprised when he came back to take the next 2 sets. Zverev did have the chance to finish that in 4, but you live and you learn, and he came through in 5. The Ema brothers gonna go places, I think, but Zverev threw in straights, so that was a bit of a statement after everyone was kind of I don't know. They were just talking down on Zverev a bit, I feel, after he went to 5 sets again, even though he won against a quality opponent. But yeah, you do you guys. Third round, Dusan Lajovic, again a 5-setter, but again a deceptively tricky opponent. He's the number 30 seed, Lajovic, and he's done some good stuff this clay court season. He beat Dominic Thiem in, I think, Monte Carlo. Thiem's first loss on clay this year, and can play from all areas of the court, can come up to the net. And Zverev again had the 2 sets to love lead, and it's becoming a bit of a mental thing, I guess, losing from that position. Well, losing that lead. He's not losing the matches. That's the thing. Came through 6-4, 6-2, 4-6, 1-6, 6-2, and then the win over Fabio Fognini, which I actually thought, after his opening matches, I thought Zverev would come through. As people who've been watching will know, I haven't rated Fognini's chances over best of 5. Yeah, he's a great clay court player, and he hits the ball effortlessly on this surface. But yeah, I just didn't see Fognini outlasting Zverev, and I watched and took notes on the 4th set tiebreak because I was interested to see how Zverev would handle that moment, because he was so close to getting pushed to 5 again, and I was interested to see his mental response to that situation. Brilliant. He got the mini break and he didn't lose it. He engaged in some lengthy rallies and he outlasted Fognini. Fognini was the guy overhitting. Zverev was keeping it nice and deep off both wings. And a good win for him, 3-6, 6-2, 6-2, 7-6. Yeah, he's going to lack some energy going in to face Djokovic, which could be a massive factor in the clash. But a win over a player like Fognini, who's been doing really well, you know, it is a good confidence boost. Djokovic, on the other hand, completely impressive, has pretty much breezed to this quarterfinal, and it hasn't been without some tricky opposition either. Opened against Hubert Hurkacz, and, you know, a guy that could cause trouble. 6-4, 6-2, 6-2. Henry Laaksonen of Switzerland in the second round, 6-1, 6-4, 6-3. It's like nursery rhymes or something, isn't it? Caruso of Italy in the third round, 6-3, 6-3, 6-2. And then Jan Lennard Struff, who had been playing great. I'd watched quite a bit of him this tournament. I was impressed because he's such a big guy, the way he was able to do the 1-2 punches and that kind of thing, but also move well to get up to drop shots and volleys and position himself well on the court. So I thought this has the potential to be Djokovic's first big test. My one doubt there was that Struff had played a marathon encounter against Borna Coric the match before. I didn't know if he'd have the energy. He didn't, but mostly, Djokovic just strategically and clinically outplayed him. It was a tough opening few games, and Djokovic looks a bit frustrated, but he came through 6-3, 6-2, 6-2. And just because he looks a bit frustrated at the beginning of that match, I'm not writing Zverev off completely against Djokovic. I do think he is capable of the upset. Djokovic wasn't in the form he's in now, but Zverev did beat him in that Masters 1000 final last year to win the title in Rome, I think. Memory's going, but here we go. Let's get the head-to-head up. Djokovic versus Zverev. And the thing with Zverev is, he beat Djokovic again at the back end of last year, ATP finals, when Djokovic was in great form, and Zverev beats Federer and Djokovic back-to-back. He never counts himself out of these big meetings. He sees these matches as matches he should be winning. There is not that mental barrier for Zverev when he goes into a match of this profile that there is for a lot of the other guys on tour. He's beaten these guys, and he knows, he just knows how to come out and how to play against them, and it's made these guys wary of him. So if we looked at the head-to-head here, it's 2-2, it's 50-50. This match I wouldn't say is, I'd be giving Djokovic the greater percentage chance of coming through, obviously, but last two meetings came at the ATP finals. They faced off in the round robin stage first. Djokovic won that one in straights, and then probably that was the best thing that could have happened to Zverev. You don't usually get the opportunity to play a guy of this level of prestige and ability in such close succession. He was immediately able to take the lessons from that match and have a shot at revenge. He did that in straight 6-4, 6-3. The first meeting was that Masters 1000 final in Rome. 2 years ago it is now. 2 years ago, 2017. Time flies, but I got it right in terms of what the tournament was anyway. 6-4, 6-3 for Zverev. Interesting. Whoever's won has done so in straight sets this whole time. So a Djokovic straight sets win then would, I guess, look likely. I'm going to say it right now, I can see Zverev winning this match, but I don't think he will. Just on this occasion, with Djokovic looking as comprehensive as he has so far, with Zverev having been pushed and probably lost quite a lot of energy, if it were to get tough as well, would he rise up? I don't know. We've seen he has the weapons. The reason Zverev has talked about as a potential slam champion, the reason people are surprised that he hasn't broken through at slams thus far is because of his mental brilliance, because against the big players, coming out and backing himself, because of everything he has going for him in his game. He's got the big serve, ground strokes, can mix it up, can come forward. He's got it all going for him. Djokovic won their other meeting, by the way, 2018, Shanghai, 6-2, 6-1, so pretty comprehensive. Just for this, I know I'm picking Djokovic to win, because I myself had a hard time picking between Djokovic and Nadal to win the title this year. I've said before, I always go with Nadal, but just as he struggled a bit in the lead-up, I thought if Djokovic wins Rome, I have to go with him because he'll have won Rome, beaten Nadal. But no, I have to go for Djokovic in this clash. I don't know whether to give Zverev a set or not. If it's bad weather as well, I think that will encourage Djokovic to finish more quickly just to get the match done. So, should I be giving him a set? Should I be giving him two? Should I be giving him more? I don't know. But let's, Djokovic to win this one from my perspective right here, right now. If Djokovic loses, be a bit surprising, but it won't be a shock. Zverev has come into this tournament, I think, playing quite freely because he was playing so badly for... we can say that because next to his standards, his usual standards, he was right up there on clay last year. It was pretty bad from Zverev, but he's righted the ship. I think he's done so incredibly well and pretty impressively. But I'd pick Djokovic to win this one. I'm not sure on sets. 3 or 4 sets for Djokovic. Probably straights, I think. But yeah, it's the thing with Djokovic, I'm not sure if Struff was in quite the position he needed to be to really expose any dips in Djokovic's game at the moment. He was doing really well when he was using the big serve and delivering the 1-2 punches, which is something that Zverev can do against Djokovic. Djokovic struggles most, okay, when he's up against big hitters who are consistent throughout. We saw with Del Potro. Del Potro should have had that win, Juan Martín Del Potro against Djokovic in Rome when he had match points in the tiebreak, tightened, and it was on his racket and he let it go, and then Djokovic got himself back into it. But Del Potro striking big, striking clean, striking hard, coming forwards, finishing off. That is the kind of game that beats Djokovic. However, Djokovic is playing himself. Okay, Del Potro should have had that. Zverev has the ability to do that. Can he do it over best of 5? I don't know. But this is why I'm not writing Zverev off. Okay, he could get the upset here. But no, picking Djokovic. Right. Let's move on to Madison Keys versus... No, not Matt. Who played more recently? That's it's confusing because this was carried out. Okay, that makes sense. Right, so it would be Madison Keys versus Ashley, but no, they're all... Guys, I'm just not with it completely tonight. I was trying to work out which of Halep versus Anisimova and Keys versus Barty is played on the second day of quarters, but they're both played on the second day. It's why I haven't previewed them yet. Okay, Keys versus Barty. This one should be a good one. I'm curious to see how this one goes. Okay, so Keys has been a dark horse all tournament and really all clay court season. I believe she won Charleston at the beginning of it. And Keys is a player who's monumentally talented but has been injured so much throughout her career that when she has come back, she's been quite streaky and she's never really had that run that truly marks her out. I think, did she win Eastbourne or Birmingham one year? I think it was Eastbourne a few years ago. So that was a premier event, but she's not achieved as massively as she could have done. That one US Open final against Stevens, she got pretty much wiped off the court. But, you know, she's this is a quarterfinal we're talking about, not a final, so potential for Keys to go further. And she's dropped a couple of sets, so that's not in her favour, but her last one was in straights. Her first one against Evgenia Rodina, who's played decently this clay court season, was comprehensive. It was pretty much a thrashing, 6-1, 6-2. Priscilla Hon of Australia, I think, qualified, made second round, took a set off Keys, and I believe that was a match that was carried overnight. So, yeah, Keys having to fight a couple of opponents there, but came through 7-5, 5-7, 6-3. Blink of her in the third round. Keys dropped a set. It was on a tiebreak, but I didn't see her dropping a set there. I don't know. I don't make predictions unless I have to do it for a video. Don't really make predictions on the women's tour because they're so unpredictable. Unless a match gets going and then actually there are patterns in play that you can identify. But no, 6-3, 6-7, 6-4 for Keys, who's the number 14 seed. I'm not saying the seeds, am I? Keys is the number 14 seed. Barty's the number 8 seed. So in making this stage, Barty's lived up to her seeding. Keys has outperformed it, so credit to her. In the fourth round, she would have been playing Naomi Osaka, but Osaka got beaten by Katerina Siniakova, top doubles player, currently world number 1, I believe, in doubles. 6-2, 6-4 for Keys. And now she faces another very experienced and highly talented doubles player who's also making a mark on singles. She recently won the Miami Open, Ashley Barty, who has had some pretty decent wins already at this tournament. Opened against Jessica Pegula. I was commentating on Pegula. I don't know why I slapped my knee just then. The other week in Prague, she played Barbara Strycova. She didn't win, but don't underestimate her. She's got a good game on her, and she'd spoken previously about how every time she feels like she's getting to a breakthrough in her career, something happens and she's injured and she gets sidelined. So that's a good win for Barty in round 1, 6-3, 6-3. Danielle Collins, Australian Open semi-finalist, decent on clay as well, likes the surface. Barty wins 6-5, 6-1, and then a win over former semi-finalist here, Andrea Petkovic, comprehensive again, 6-3, 6-1. last match is the one that throws a bit of caution, because she did drop a set to Sofia Kenin. Kenin obviously in great form. She took out an erratic Serena Williams in straight sets. Barty lost the middle set, but showed her mental maturity in the deciding set to come through 6-3, 3-6, 6-love. So, what can we say about this one? Barty, I say it time and again, forever underrated. She's got a fantastic game. I'm pleased for her that she is underrated at the moment. Part of the reason she left tennis briefly to play cricket a few years ago. She didn't leave to play cricket, that happened after, but she did leave tennis. She left the tennis scene for a while, was because of the pressure on her shoulders. She wasn't enjoying the sport anymore. It was just, there was a lot of pressure coming on her, especially from Australia. Obviously they're after another slam champ. Barty clearly has the potential to be that slam champ. She won Junior Wimbledon and then reached the final of 3 doubles Grand Slams at the age of 17. At 16, I think she was in the first one. So, you know, the talent's always been there. The form is now, every year since she came back in 2016, I interviewed her at her first WTA event back. And every year since she's come back, she's made progress, even if it's just small progress, even if it's just an improvement in the ranking, whether it's or not it's a title. The titles have gone up in prestige. Her ranking's gone up. She's top 10 now in singles and doubles. And the doubles does not seem to be taking anything out of her when it comes to singles. She's out now of the doubles with Azarenka. They went out in the 3rd round to Stosur and Zhang. Not a bad loss, but anyway, looking at the singles here, yeah, she doesn't have the doubles to focus on anymore. And really, she's the favourite by seeding in this one, but there'll be a lot of focus on Keys, who's the only one of these two to reach a Grand Slam final, who's American, and with that comes a lot of media spotlight, because the Americans are always after new contenders as well. Yeah, this is another one that's really hard to call, actually. You've got Barty with all her versatility, her variety, can pack a good punch as well as using the backhand slice so effectively. She's got a good serve. And Keys, when she's got it on her racket, she's pretty formidable. You know, the 1-2 punches, the big serve. She was ripping effortless winners from what I saw in her match against Siniakova, and I find that interesting coming into a match with Barty, who in a way is similar to Siniakova. They do throw in the variation. They use timing to get placement on the ball, and you know, top doubles players. So Keys probably couldn't have asked for much better prep coming into this match than that match with Siniakova. I'm focus. So head to heads, Barty and Keys, 1-1 joy. One of those matches came on clay, won by Keys, 2017, 6-3, 6-2. So this was almost a year after Barty had come back to the circuit. And then Barty won their most recent meeting in a Fed Cup World Group tie earlier this year on hard courts, 6-4, 6-1. But honestly, Keys wasn't that impressive at the beginning of the year, so I kind of erase most of that, because at the moment Keys is in a better place than she has been. Barty has been one of a very small group of players on the WTA that have sustained their form and even increased how good it is throughout the season so far. Made a great start in Australia, reached the quarters of the Australian Open, she's the first Aussie to make back-to-back quarters of a slam since I think 1984, which is pretty decent. And yeah, won Miami, obviously, over Pliskova in the final, who many people were picking to go all the way. I just don't see it with Pliskova at the moment. But Barty just quietly getting her head down, getting on with things, executing the game that does so much damage and is underrated, because you've got a big booming game like Keys, and I think that's always going to get more attention than the slightly more crafty way that Barty competes. But here I am just trying to put off making a prediction, because instinctively I was going to pick Keys to win this one, but I haven't seen as much of Keys as Barty. I just thought, based on the fact that she's an underdog, the upsets keep happening, she'll probably come through. But then I thought, hey, you're always talking about how Barty's so underrated. And she's done so well. If ever there was a great opportunity for Barty to make a semi-final, it's now. I thought I'd turn the sound off on this. Apologies if that came through. No, rather than put it on mute, I put it on sound. Never mind. But yeah. What was I talking about? Keys, Barty. Okay. So with the variation and everything that Barty produces, she's so underrated, so good. And I did get behind her and back her in Miami when I had a couple of doubts, and she did produce. So it's a big question. Does Keys take one more step towards another Grand Slam final, or does Barty make her first Grand Slam semi? This one really could go either way. I think it's going to take starting the match to actually try and predict where it might go. But like I say, instinctively beforehand, I was going to go with Keys just because I thought that she'd be able to take the ball early and dictate and finish the points quickly. She was getting some real pace on the ball when you consider that this is a clay court when she was playing Siniakova. And I thought, oh, Barty's going to have it tough, but I think Barty will probably return better than Siniakova. Barty did take a set off Serena here last year, and Serena is as big a power player as they come. So I think actually, even though instinctively I was going to go for Keys before, I might give Barty the benefit of the doubt here again and actually call Barty in 3 sets for that match. So see if that one comes through. Right, 2 more matches to go, and we're moving on to a men's match now. Dominic Thiem versus Khachanov, who secured a dramatic 4-set win over Del Potro in classic upset conditions. Evening match, big stage, roaring crowd. You just feel it's going to happen. Yeah, you felt it. If anyone's been watching upsets at slams before, you know the feeling when you can just tell it's an atmosphere primed for it to happen. All the pressure is on the shoulders of the highest seeded player. And I think Del Potro probably felt that a bit in the 4th set. But yeah, let's start with Khachanov. I think it was, I'm going to plug it here. I was going to plug it at the end, but I'll plug it now. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Tune into lovesportradio.com for the tennis show with myself and British doubles player Anna Smith. Last week we were joined by James Gray. I'm giving him a shout out because he actually mentioned Karen Khachanov's name as a dark horse, and hey presto, he's in the quarterfinals. So don't forget to tune in to the radio show. But comprehensive 6-1, 6-1, 6-4 win in the first round. Going to speed through now because we're approaching 11 o'clock. Don't want to be here all night. Second round, dropped a set to, I think it's Gregor Barrera, French guy. I think he was a wild card. He was a wild card or a qualifier. I remember looking at this at the beginning. 6-3, 7-6, love 6, 7-5. So rebounded there. I was impressed by his win over Martin Klizan in the 3rd round, 6-1, 6-4, 6-3. And then in the 4th round, obviously got the better of Del Potro, just 7-5, 6-3, 3-6, 6-3. Del Potro, finalist last year, and has produced some thumping stuff on the surface this year. So, no, we'll go on to Thiem first, and then we'll talk about, so I can't even remember the same video, and I can't even remember how I've been talking about stuff. Right, Dominic Thiem, and a lot of people were panicking over Thiem as they were over Zverev when he dropped sets early on. No, Thiem is now up there. He is one of the, when tennis comes to clay, the big 3 at the moment do become the big 4, I feel, with Thiem, because he is one of the best on clay. Clay only this is. I'm not ranking him up there with them on other surfaces, but on clay, even though he doesn't have a slam yet, Thiem, he's obviously been in contention. And yeah, he should be viewed as a top player. What do top players do? If they've been challenged early on, they come through stronger. That's what Thiem's done. So 4 sets in his opening 3 rounds against 3 difficult players, it must be said. Even though it's round 1, round 2, round 3, I think he's probably had the toughest draw of, apart from obviously Khachanov beating Del Potro, of any of the guys so far. I think in terms of across the board, Thiem has had the toughest draw. 6-4, 4-6, 7-6, 6-2 over Tommy Paul, 6-3, 6-7, 6-3, 7-5 over Alexander Bublik, and then 6-3, 4-6, 6-2, 7-5 over Pablo Cuevas, has been top 20. Really good backhand slice, comes to the net, mixes it up, and is difficult. And Thiem came through that one. And then his straight sets win came over the highest ranked player he's faced so far, Gael Monfils. Again, with Monfils, I just thought it was a waiting game. I mean, he'd been doing well, credit to him. He's an athletic player, but he's always going to be hot and cold, and he just didn't have the consistency to match Thiem today. 6-4, 6-4, 6-2 for the number 4 seed. And instead of facing a potential nightmare clash with Del Potro, he has Karen Khachanov, who I compare to Del Potro. I kind of see a lot of similarities in the game. One of my sisters was completely disagreeing with me earlier, so interested to hear thoughts. But, he's got the big serve, he's got the swinging forehand and backhand, and both of them were doing similar stuff today, but Khachanov with the more consistency. And that topspin forehand has been looking great on the surface for Khachanov so far. Thiem, obviously, the backhands, the whole net game, the way he's so aggressively minded, even on clay, it's aggression has been doing wonders on clay this season. The power players have really been coming through, and I think that Thiem strategically has a lot of options, and that's been helping him. And he just loves the fight. Everyone was freaking out over the fact he'd gone to 4 sets. Thiem was loving it. I remember going on Instagram and he was like, "Oh, I had such a challenging match today. Can't wait for my next match." Most players would be like, "Get me to bed, give me some rest." But Thiem always looking to the next one. It's been a standing joke that he plays more tennis than he probably should. Scheduling wise, hasn't been particularly smart in times gone by. But no, he's doing all right. Thiem. Head to head, very interesting. Thiem not got a win. Khachanov 6-4, 6-1 in the Paris Masters semi-finals last year, a tournament that Khachanov went on to win with a victory over Novak Djokovic in the final. So Djokovic suffered a few shock losses at the back end of last year. Now, this is one where I can see the upset occurring. Obviously, Thiem's come through well after those early challenges, but, he obviously he is a bit vulnerable, and Khachanov was able to withstand the pressure and come through against Del Potro, who was hitting really big and making him work for it. But Khachanov was still able to survive. So yeah, I'd definitely be giving him chances. Cut to the chase, I'll go with Thiem on this occasion, just because he's pulled himself through so well. Again, I'm a bit cautious because I'm like, would it really be Djokovic versus Thiem and Federer versus Nadal in the semis? That just doesn't happen anymore. There's always shocks. And the biggest potential for shocks, I think, is probably Wawrinka over Federer and Khachanov over Thiem. But because he looked so good in this last match, I'm just going to exhibit a bit of faith in Thiem and call him to come through in 4 sets. So Thiem in 4 sets for that match. And we're down to 1, which features the second defending champion left in the draw, Simona Halep. And full credit to her. I didn't give myself the option to really think about Halep before the tournament. I've always considered her a contender for the French. But just because she's defending champion, I didn't allow myself the liberty of putting her into my choices because it just doesn't happen. Players on the women's side just don't defend slam titles at the moment, but Halep's making the case to be the player to do that. She struggled in her opening 2 matches, and to be fair, Ayla Tomljanovic and Magda Linette really stepped up. Tomljanovic changed her game plan strategically in the second set when she wasn't doing damage in the first, mixed it up a bit. And Magda Linette was ripping I can't remember whether it was the cross-court forehand or it was the cross-court forehand. She was killing it, and that's the best I've ever seen Linette play. It was top 20 standard, hands down. I don't see her as a top 20 standard player most of the time, but on that day, she was playing top 20 level tennis, and Halep had a really hard time of it, was still able to come through. So those first 2 matches, 6-2, 3-6, 6-1 over Ayla Tomljanovic, and 6-4, 7-5, 6-4, 5-7, 6-3 over Linette. And from there, it's been smooth sailing. Lesia Sarenko thrashed her 6-2, 6-1, and then Iga Swiatek, who is player very much on the rise, just turned 18, can rip some really good angles, generate power, but also has great touch and a great feel for the court and for the play. I'm not surprised that Halep tore through her though, because it wouldn't be the first time this clay court season she destroyed Victoria Kuzmova, who was extremely hyped in Madrid, 6-love, 6-love, and because it was a similar situation, I saw a similar thing happening with Swiatek, and it did 6-1, 6-love to Halep, really asserting herself, digging into the corners, being aggressively minded, attacking mindset from the first point to the last. But I think that it almost makes it harder for her now going into the quarters, because there's a lot of expectation on her. She's by far the highest ranked player left in the draw. Barty's the next one down. And, you know, so much attention on Halep now. It's basically her half to win or lose, maybe even her tournament to win or lose. And Amanda Anisimova is going to be trouble. Anisimova, but again, you know, another young player. She's 17. It's her breakthrough Grand Slam for Anisimova, and credit to her that it's coming on clay, because she has a really slick, powerful game that's suited to fast surfaces. But again, you know, power play coming through on the dirt, get in. Anisimova started off against Harmony Tan, French player who produces a lot of variety. I've seen her at a few ITF events, very talented, and has had the experience playing here before. But Anisimova 6-3, 6-1 there. Beat Aryna Sabalenka for the second time this year, I believe, in the second round, the number 11 seed. Sabalenka, very talented, and started pushing through a year or so ago, and, you know, would have been probably counted as one of many contenders for the title, because it was that open. But Anisimova coming through in straight 6-4, 6-2, and, you know, she hasn't dropped a set. Arina Camelia Begu loves playing on clay. She's from Romania. She's reached the semi-finals at Rome one year. Can't remember which year, but that's just random info from off the top of my head when I saw her name. 7-6, 6-4. It was a tight tie break, and she was able to rise in those moments. And then Aliona Bolsova-Zadornov, apparently she's just going as Bolsova now, in the fourth. Bolsova, another player I've seen at ITFs, saw her at one in February. She was playing well in a semi against Vitalia Diatchenko, limped off in tears after picking up an injury. Next thing you know it, she's qualified for the French Open and reached the fourth round, so fair play. Can mix it up, slice backhands, net play. I thought that she was going to give Anisimova more trouble, but it says a lot about the form the American player's in that she did not. 6-3, 6-love. And Anisimova's next target is Simona Halep. So, can she come through on a big stage? I think that she's demonstrating, definitely, Anisimova, that she's a champion of the future. I've been impressed by her timing on the ball. Sometimes it's not so much just generating power, but absorbing her opponent's power and deflecting it and just getting it that bit faster. And obviously at 17, still working on her game. So I don't think these two have faced off before, which would make sense given that Anisimova is so young. And I would be correct. They have not faced off, so first meeting. Let's have a look again at Halep's draw. She's not really played a straight-out power player yet. And so that's very different to Swiatek. Yeah, Swiatek can pack a punch, but she's also quite crafty in the way she plays as well. Anisimova, obviously finding her marks incredibly well, hasn't dropped a set. Halep has dropped sets. More pressure on Halep, and it's Anisimova who should really go out there swinging with nothing to lose. So I'd pick Halep to come through just because she's been doing so impressively well. She's the more experienced player. I expect Anisimova to break through at slams in the future. Could be here, but I don't think it will be. But then again, she's not going to see a Grand Slam. I can't say that because the next one could easily be as open as this, but this is ridiculously open. Take Halep out of the equation, there's literally no obvious candidate to win, and that's massive news for players like Vondrousova and Anisimova, who are still in here with a chance. But I'm going to say Halep just because she's rised so impressive. Rised? What kind of a word's that? Risen? Rose? Yeah, she's risen so impressively in the big moments. She's been up against some zoning opposition and found a way to come through. Anisimova has got the big serve as well. She's got a really big serve for her stature and her age. I was very impressed by her first serve the times I've seen her. That I think Halep's to come through. So I'm going to say because Anisimova hasn't dropped a set yet, even though Halep's won her last 2 in thrashings, I can see Halep thrashing again, just because it's a similar situation with a young, talented player coming through, being expected to push, like Swiatek. So I can see Halep thrashing. I almost think she will, but given that Anisimova hasn't dropped a set, give her the benefit of the doubt and say Simona Halep to win in 3 sets. And we're done. 8 matches, rounded, previewed, predicted, in the books. And I'll scroll through your comments quickly just to see if I can see people have been having conversations, just to see if there's anything really to answer. Now, there's too many comments here. I'm not going to get through it all until afterwards. I did see there was a bit of outcry over me picking Martic to beat Vondrousova. At the end of the day, Martic leads the head-to-head for love. And honestly, you know, that one's the one I'm most unsure about. I do... Instinct almost says to me that Vondrousova will get the win there. I feel like, you know, you've still got 2 young players in the draw. Surely at least one of them will come through. Could well be Vondrousova, but, you know, Martic with the great records, in good form, big upset over Pliskova. I'm willing to give her the chance. I understand if people don't, because Vondrousova is a strong pick there, but there you go. Just scrolling down. Okay, I'm going to hold it there. Thank you very much for watching. It was a long one, but honestly, I expected it to be longer than this, given that we've had 8 matches to look at, so not too bad. Thank you to everyone that's tuned into the live streams. Wednesday is very busy for me, so I don't think I'll have time to do a live stream. I'll try and do one, or at least a video of some kind previewing both finals, but likelihood is I won't be back until then. Follow me on my social media to stay up to date and see when a new video might be coming. And don't forget to tune into Love Sport Radio. That's lovesportradio.com online, because you can listen online at 7 p.m. on Wednesday evening. That's 7 p.m. British time, to hear me and Anna Smith, British player, maybe someone else as well, not sure yet, on the tennis show on Love Sport Radio, where we'll be talking more about the French Open, so more of me rambling. Great stuff. And yeah, if you're watching this after the video's ended, leave a comment, let me know your predictions. Trash mine if you really want to. I'm not sure what you get out of it, but yeah, I will be shocked if I get probably even if I get 6 out of 8 right. I'll be shocked if I get them all right, for sure. But hey, it's difficult to predict matches until they get going, because you don't know how a player is going to be feeling on the given day. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Come back next